Once upon a time, in a calm, gated estate in the heart of Surulere, Lagos, where cars moved slowly, lawns were always trimmed, and every house looked like a slice of paradise, lived a woman named Morenike Adeyemi. Morenike was a well-known events planner. Her brand, Elegant Touch Events, had styled everything from governor's daughters' weddings to celebrity baby showers. But behind the sparkling Instagram feed and glamorous reputation, Morenike was a very tired mother. Her husband, Darior, worked offshore, so she was often alone with the children, 10-year-old Lara, 8-year-old Temi, and 5-year-old Dara. They were bright, playful, and full of questions, and they adored their mother. But balancing career and parenting was eating Morenike alive. Until Auntie Bisi came into their lives. Bisi Amole lived in House 14, a clean, well-painted duplex with purple flowers crawling around the gate. She was everything a neighbor should be. Soft-spoken, respectful, always neatly dressed in well-fitted Ankara gowns and lace wrappers, with a shiny low-cut hairdo. She was in her mid-40s, unmarried, and had lived in the estate for about 5 years. Most neighbors called her Mama Peace, because she kept to herself and never interfered in any wahala. The first time Morenike truly noticed her was when Dara, the youngest child, wandered off while Morenike was loading event materials into her car. She found Dara in Bisi's compound, laughing as Bisi handed her a plastic cup of Zobo. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," Morenike apologized. Bisi smiled warmly. "She's a sweet child. Don't worry, I just gave her something cool. The heat these days is terrible." From that moment, Bisi became the person Morenike turned to during emergencies. Need someone to wait for PHCN? Bisi. Need help picking Temi from the estate bus stop when stuck in traffic? Bisi. Soon, the children started spending more time at House 14. It began with short visits, 1 hour here, 2 hours there. Then, on a Friday night when Morenike had a huge wedding to coordinate in Lekki, she called Bisi. "Please, can they stay till Sunday morning? I'll be back by 11 a.m. latest. I'll send their clothes, pajamas, everything." Bisi agreed easily. When Morenike returned Sunday, the kids looked fine. Quiet, but fine. "They were angels," Bisi said with a smile. "I made a mala last night and we played Ludo. Dara cried a bit for you, but she slept beside me. No trouble." Morenike was grateful. She gave Bisi a small thank you envelope and promised to return the favor someday. The sleepovers became more frequent. The children stopped resisting. They even seemed to like going. But Lara, the eldest, had questions. She noticed how the red door beside Bisi's dining room was always locked, and how Bisi would sometimes talk to herself at night. Lara was the lightest sleeper. One night during their third sleepover, she woke up to a strange humming sound. It was 2:13 a.m. She peeked through the slightly open guest room door and saw Bisi kneeling on a mat before the red door, whispering in a language she didn't understand. There were no candles or crosses, just shadows. In the morning, she asked, "Auntie, who were you talking to last night?" Bisi didn't smile. "Nobody. You must have been dreaming." But that same night, Temi woke up screaming, "I saw her! I saw her crawling on the ceiling!" Bisi came running in, hugging him tightly. "Bad dream, my darling. Just a dream." But Lara was no longer comfortable. She wanted to go home. But her mom had traveled again, and Bisi said they would be staying for 2 more days. By now, the red door had become a quiet obsession. "Why is it always locked?" Lara asked Temi. "I think it's her shrine," he whispered. "No, it's where she keeps the pictures," Dara said. "I saw one in her hand. She had a picture of us." Lara blinked. "Are you sure?" "Yes." She was looking at it when she thought I was sleeping. That evening, when Bisi stepped out to buy tomatoes, Lara crept to the red door. She turned the knob. It was locked. But she noticed something odd. The key was still inside the keyhole, on the inside. "Next time," she whispered to herself, "I'll get in." The next time Moreniki returned from a trip, Lara waited until Temi and Dara were asleep before whispering to her mother. "Mummy, Auntie Bisi has a red door in her house. She prays there at night. It's not like church prayer, it's strange." Moreniki chuckled softly. "Lara, you watch too many scary movies. Leave Auntie Bisi alone. She's been so helpful to us. Please don't start." "But Mummy, she is not your mate. Don't talk about elders like that again." Lara sighed. She wanted to say more, but her mother was already tired and half asleep. That night, a text message buzzed on the estate group chat. "Good evening. Please, has anyone seen my son, Joshua? He hasn't come back from his friend's house since 6 p.m. I've called his phone. It's ringing, but he's not answering. Please, help me ask your children. I'm panicking." The chat blew up. Parents began calling one another. The estate security team searched the playground, the small bush behind the football field, the corner store. Joshua wasn't found until 2:47 a.m. He was standing in the middle of the road, barefoot, shaking violently. When his mother rushed to hold him, he screamed and collapsed. He had no memory of what happened. No one thought of Auntie Bisi, but Bisi that same morning was seen sweeping her compound, singing softly as if nothing had happened. The next week passed in eerie calm. Joshua's strange disappearance and return had shaken the estate, but with no explanation, it became just another confusing mystery. His mother had taken him to 2 hospitals. Both doctors said the same thing. The boy suffered prolonged exposure to cold. His organs nearly shut down from internal freezing. He was lucky to survive. Freezing? In Lagos? The estate buzzed with theories. Perhaps he had fallen into a refrigerated truck. Maybe someone pranked him. Maybe. But nothing made sense. Auntie Bisi was at the front of every search. She joined prayer groups, offered Zobo to the grieving mother. She even suggested a neighborhood meeting to discuss security upgrades. No one suspected her, and why would they? Her house was always clean, her face always kind. But inside that red door room, there were 2 large commercial deep freezers. On a Thursday night, just as Moreniki returned from a late event, Lara came to her room with swollen eyes. "Mummy, I can't sleep again in Auntie Bisi's house." "Why?" "She walks around at night. I hear dragging sounds. I hear whispers. I think she takes children into that red room." Moreniki sighed. "Lara, listen to me. I know you're scared. But let's not create fear where there's none. Maybe it's rats or something. This estate is safe. We are blessed. Don't let your imagination get the best of you." Lara wanted to scream, but she didn't. She turned and walked away. That night, while the estate slept, Bisi rolled a small body wrapped in white cloth through the hallway. The child's eyes were frozen open, lips blue, skin pale. She placed him into the freezer, gently, respectfully, like a midwife returning a baby to its maker. She whispered, "It's not your fault. It's your mother's. She left you with me, just like they left mine." Years ago, in the city of Ibadan, Bisi had lived in another beautiful estate. She had been married once briefly, but her husband left after 7 years of childlessness. The shame nearly killed her. So when she finally had a baby boy, Kamsi, her life felt complete. One afternoon, she asked her playful neighbor to help watch him while she dashed to buy soup ingredients. "He's just crawling," she said. "I'll be back in 30 minutes. The neighbor agreed. But when Bisi returned 20 minutes later and asked for her child, the neighbor stuttered, panicked, and then they heard it, a faint cry. From the deep freezer, they pulled him out, but the cold had already swallowed his little lungs. He died on the way to the hospital. The neighbor was jailed, but Bisi lost her soul that day. That's when she made a vow. Since you froze mine, I'll freeze yours. Since you gave me grief, I'll become your grief. No child left in my care will leave untouched. And so she began. Quietly, carefully, in estates across different cities, until she moved to Surulere. 2 weekends later, a child named Eniola came over to visit her cousin in House 7. The cousin's parents were hosting a birthday party. Balloons, jollof rice, loud music. Around 5 p.m., Eniola needed to use the toilet. The queue was long, so she stepped out and wandered. That's when Bissy called her. "My dear, there's a guest toilet in my house, come." Eniola followed. She never came back. Again, the estate spiraled into panic. And again, it was Bissy who suggested printing flyers, offered her printer, made phone calls, prayed. By morning, Eniola's body was found in a shallow gutter 2 streets away. Still frozen. Still no answers. The doctors were shocked. "Impossible," one muttered. "This kind of internal temperature drop is unnatural in this climate." Police came, interviewed everyone. Bissy wore a black scarf and cried louder than the bereaved. Laura knew. She didn't know how. But her bones knew. And yet, the red door stayed locked. Each time she tried to touch the handle, something made her stop. A cold breeze, a whisper, a smell. She once left a tiny rubber ball at the foot of the door before bed. By morning, it was gone. She told Temmie, told Dara, but they didn't understand. They were too young. One evening, Lara stood by the window and watched Bissy hang wet clothes. One white cloth caught her eye. It was small, like a child's wrapper, but stained faintly red. She blinked. It was gone. It was a radiant Sunday morning. The estate's children's choir had been invited to minister at a nearby church, and Mareniki, finally free from a weekend booking, was at home helping Lara dress for the performance. Temmie and Dara were staying back home with Auntie Bissy, just for a few hours. "I'll come back soon," Lara whispered to them. "You're lucky," Temmie said. "You'll miss Auntie Bissy's raw pap." Lara didn't laugh. Her mind was already tense. While the choir rehearsed in the church hall, a 6-year-old named Blessing stepped outside to use the toilet. The church toilet had a broken lock, so Blessing decided to wait. But someone was waiting too. Bissy had come to church. No one noticed her slip out. No one saw her walk toward Blessing. She returned to the main church 30 minutes later, sitting in the last row, humming softly during offering. The service ended, but Blessing's mother couldn't find her. It became chaos. Again, flyers, calls, police. The next morning, Blessing's body was discovered near the canal bridge. Frozen, same pattern, same mystery, no fingerprints, no leads. And again, Bissy wept in public and smiled in silence. Lara began writing everything she saw. She kept the diary under her mattress. She titled it, "The Red Door." April 3rd. I saw Auntie Bissy drag a black bag at night. The wheels made a sound like crying. April 9th. Auntie Bissy's lights were off, but I heard a child humming inside her house. April 14th. The red door was open just a crack. I saw white mist coming from the room. She drew sketches, made maps, marked dates of missing children. She told her best friend Fiyin at school. "You think she's doing something?" "I know it," Lara said. "I just don't know how to prove it." They made a pact to stay alert. But Lara was always alone with the truth. One night, while Mareniki was preparing a proposal in her room, Temmie and Dara played in the sitting room. Bissy had come to drop off a bowl of jollof rice for the kids. "Eat, my darlings," she said sweetly. But Lara stared at the food. She didn't touch it. Dara picked up her spoon but paused. "It smells like the last one, remember? The one Mummy said tasted funny." Temmie nodded slowly. "Let's not eat." Later that night, Bissy knocked softly at their door. "Is everyone okay?" Mareniki opened. "Yes, thank you so much, Auntie." "I thought I heard coughing." You know, this weather, children can catch things easily. Lara stepped into the hallway just in time to see Bissy's shadow retreat. Her eyes lingered too long on Dara. That night, Lara didn't sleep. She lay awake, gripping her pen and diary like a sword. A new neighbor, Mrs. Chisholm, had moved into House 11 with her 8-year-old daughter, Adaise. Adaise was shy but curious. She liked to visit neighbors and ask questions. On a sunny Saturday, she knocked on Bissy's gate to admire her purple flowers. Bissy welcomed her in. "Come in, my dear. I have sugar cane." Adaise never came out. Around 9 p.m., a woman's scream echoed across the estate. Mrs. Chisholm had found Adaise's shoe by the drain, just one. The search resumed. Police came, again, and again Bissy was there, helping, weeping, pretending. The next day, Adaise's body was found in the back seat of an abandoned estate security car, frozen stiff. The doctor's reports had grown predictable. Death by exposure to sub-zero conditions, cause unknown. And the estate moved on. Lara started placing small objects around the red door anytime they go to stay at Auntie Bessie's. Marbles, pencil caps, a single coin. Every time, they disappeared. One day, she left a folded paper that read, "I know what you're doing." The next morning, her diary was gone. She screamed, tore the bed apart. Then she found it, on her reading table, opened, with one line written inside in red ink. "You're a clever girl, Lara, but not clever enough." She ran to her mom. But when she opened the book, the page was blank. Nothing, just blank. That night, Lara dreamt of deep freezers and eyes inside them. It was a quiet Tuesday evening. The sky had a strange color, orange, gray, and heavy with wind. Moriniki was in her room catching up on emails. Lara was reading. Temi was drawing with crayons. Dara was gone. "Where's Dara?" Lara asked suddenly. Temi looked up. "She was just here." Panic struck. They searched the house. No sign of her. Lara ran out barefoot into the compound. Bissy's gate was open. Without knocking, she barged in. "Dara!" she screamed. No response. She ran past the sitting room into the corridor. The red door stood still, slightly ajar. Just before she touched the knob, Dara emerged from the kitchen. Bissy followed closely behind, her smile tight. "She just wanted water. I told her to sit, but you know kids." Lara's heart raced. She took Dara's hand and led her out. That night, Dara wet the bed and murmured in her sleep, "It's cold in there. Mummy, it's so cold." The red door opened at exactly 2 a.m. every night. Inside, Auntie Bissy prepared. The room was cold, ice cold. The windows were sealed shut. The walls were lined with black velvet. In the center sat the 2 industrial freezers, humming low like beasts. One was full. The other waited. She had portraits hanging, children's faces. Some cheerful, some terrified, all gone. An altar sat beside the freezers. On it, a broken baby rattle, a burnt onesie, a name bracelet with the word Kamsi. She lit black candles, sat cross-legged. Then the ritual began. She opened the freezer slowly. The frost crawled across the floor. Inside lay the most recent child, pale, lips parted slightly as if whispering a goodbye. Bissy whispered, "Let this soul join mine. Let their pain reflect their parents' carelessness." She closed the lid, then began humming. Mr. OK from House 9 was a retired customs officer, sharp-eyed, observant. He had once seen Bissy dragging a large black nylon bag at 3 a.m. She told him it was waste for early morning disposal. But that night, he followed her. He saw her place the bag into a car he'd never seen before, a dusty green sedan with no plate number. The car drove off. Bissy walked back alone. The next day, he visited her. "You were working late last night," he said casually. Bessie smiled. "Just spring cleaning." OK nodded, but his eyes didn't. He went home and told his wife. The next morning, he didn't wake up. He was found in his chair. Heart attack, the doctors said. But his wife insisted. He wasn't sick. He was scared last night. He kept muttering, "We need to expose her." The matter ended there. The Red Room wasn't just a freezer chamber. It was a shrine. BC believed that with every child she returned, she was sending pain back into the world. She never buried them. She transported them late at night, through back roads, into old compounds where she left them. Some were found, some never were. Each time she completed a ritual, she added a bead to her anklet. It now held 11 beads, each bead a soul. She spoke to them at night, told them stories, laughed with them. She'd say, "Kamsi, do you like her voice?" She sang, "Twinkle, twinkle." Sometimes she wept, sometimes she smiled, but always she continued. Lara had reached her limit. She wrote a letter and placed it in her school bag, sealed in an envelope labeled, "Read this if anything happens to me." She installed a small mirror opposite the red door hallway when no one was watching. Each day, she adjusted the angle. Then one afternoon, she finally saw what no one had seen. The door opened by itself. Cold mist rolled out, and inside a small arm dangled out of the freezer. She ran, screamed, but by the time she brought her mom, the hallway was clean. Door shut, everything in place. Moreniki held her close. "You're scaring me, Lara. What's happening to you?" Lara cried. "I'm not crazy." "No, you're not," Bissy said softly, standing behind them. Lara could feel it. She was being watched, but that didn't stop her. Over the next 2 weeks, she began gathering her own evidence anytime their mom dropped them over, in secret. She borrowed Fien's old phone and used it to record sounds she heard at night. She took blurry pictures of the hallway outside the red door. She kept everything inside a zippered pencil case labeled "Schoolwork." One video recorded faint humming at 2 a.m. BC's voice, soft and eerie. Another captured a whispering voice that said, "You're mine now." She knew it wasn't enough, but she was getting close, too close, and Auntie BC noticed. That Saturday, Moreniki was home. She was making pancakes for the kids while replying emails. Lara, curious and determined, told her mum she wanted to go pick her drawing book from Auntie BC's house. "I left it in the last sleepover," she said casually. Moreniki nodded. "Be fast." Lara slipped out and walked toward House 14. The air was unusually quiet, the compound empty. The red door had always been locked, but today, it creaked open slightly. She stepped closer. The cold rolled out like a fog. Lara reached out, trembling, and slowly pushed the door. She stepped inside. Darkness. Then, a click. The door shut behind her. Before she could scream, a cloth wrapped around her mouth, hands tied, feet bound. She was thrown into the corner of the room, beside a chest freezer. Her heart pounded as Bissy stood above her in a black wrapper and white scarf. "You've been a very clever girl, Lara. Too clever." She knelt beside her, whispering, "But I don't rush my art. I take my time with special ones. You, my dear, will be my masterpiece." Lara shook violently, her eyes filled with tears. The cold bit into her skin. Back at home, 30 minutes passed, then 1 hour. Morenik frowned. She called Lara's phone. No answer. She walked to Bissy's house and knocked. Bissy opened, wiping her hands. "Ah, Morenik. Good afternoon." Lara came to get her book. "Is she here?" "No, she hasn't been here today. Maybe she went to a friend's place?" Moreniki's heart dropped. She searched the whole estate. No one had seen Lara. The group chat blew up again. "Please, my daughter is missing. Lara Adeyemi, 10 years old. She was last seen wearing a pink dress. Please help me." By evening, the estate was swarming with parents, torches, estate security, and eventually, the police. BC joined the search. She cried. She hugged Moreniki. She prayed aloud. All while Lara lay freezing in the red room, her mouth tied, her legs numb, her tears soaking the rags stuffed into her mouth. That night, Moreniki couldn't sleep. She sat on her bed, shaking. Temmie walked into her room. "Mummy, remember Lara used to talk about Auntie Bisi's red door?" Moreniki blinked. Something clicked. The red door. The dragging sounds. The diary Lara once showed her. She stood up slowly. She picked up her phone and scrolled through Lara's old messages. One stood out. "Mummy, I think something bad happens behind that red door." She gasped, but she didn't want to believe it. Not Bessie. Not sweet, kind, helpful Bessie. The next morning, she was called in to give a statement. The police asked standard questions. Where was she? What was Lara wearing? Who was the last adult to see her? She answered everything. When the officer asked, "Do you have any suspicions?" she hesitated. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But Lara always mentioned a locked red door at a neighbor's house. Auntie Bisi's. But it's probably nothing. The officer, Inspector Abayomi, didn't say a word, but he wrote it down. He stared at the name, Bisi Amole. He circled it. After the appointment, Moreniki had to pick something from home before returning to the station. Temmie and Dara were restless. Bisi offered, "Let me hold them for you. You look tired. I'll keep them busy. I made pepper soup." Moreniki hesitated, but nodded. As she dropped the children at Bisi's, she heard something. A faint sound. A voice. Me. She paused. "What's wrong?" Bisi asked quickly. Moreniki shook her head. "Nothing. I thought I heard something." Then her eyes fell on the red door. She froze. She remembered everything Lara had said. The dragging, the midnight noise, the red door. "Is that your prayer room?" she asked slowly. Bisi smiled tightly. "Yes, I don't let anyone in. Just a personal covenant space." Moreniki nodded, but as she drove to the station, she couldn't get the red door, or that muffled voice, out of her head. Inspector Abayomi was not like other officers. In his 15 years of service, he had learned that evil rarely wears a scary face. Sometimes it wears makeup. Sometimes it serves pepper soup. The moment Moreniki mentioned the red door and the name Bisi Amole, he felt a chill. Back at the station, he ran a quiet check through the database, and there it was. One unresolved case from Ibadan. Child died in a freezer. Bisi Amole was the mother, neighbor arrested. But after the trial, Bisi disappeared. No forwarding address, no trace. Until now. He didn't say a word to his team. He needed to be sure. He needed a plan. Inside the red room, Lara was fading. Her fingers were numb, her lips cracked. But her mind kept whispering, "Don't give up." Each time Bisi entered, she'd whisper strange lullabies. Sometimes she spoke to someone who wasn't there. "Did you see how she watched the door, Kamsi?" she whispered. "She's dangerous, like the others. But don't worry, we'll freeze her soul, just like they froze yours." She placed a spoonful of cold pap in Lara's mouth. Lara gagged. "You'll be still soon," Bisi said softly. Then she turned toward the freezers. "We have to make space." Moreniki could no longer ignore it. The more she thought about the red door, the more her stomach twisted. She picked up her phone and called her husband, Dio. I think something's wrong. With Bisi. I don't know how to explain it." Dio's voice was sharp. "Take Temmie and Dara out of that house, right now." She dropped the call and ran like lightning. When she got to house 14, Bisi smiled. "Ah, welcome back. Come in, come in." "No, I just came to pick my children. We have to go somewhere." Bisi's face darkened for a split second, but then returned to calm. "Of course. Let me get their shoes." As Bisi disappeared inside, Moreniki looked at the red door again. She stepped closer. This time, She touched the handle. It was cold. Too cold. Bisi returned. "Let me walk you out." That evening, Inspector Abayomi arrived at the estate. He wore plain clothes. He didn't knock on Bessie's gate. He watched from the opposite side of the street. He watched as she swept the compound. Watched as she greeted neighbors with her usual grace. But then he noticed something. A faint fog near the side window. A kind of condensation, as if the room inside was freezing cold. He took note. He walked around the block and asked one of the estate security men, "Has anyone ever been inside her house?" The man laughed. "Nobody. She doesn't allow it." "Not even house help?" "Never had one." Only her neighbor's Inspector Abayomi nodded. "Thank you." That night, Moreniki had a dream. She saw Lara standing barefoot, shivering. "Mummy," she whispered, "I'm still here. Please come." She woke up sweating. It was 3:13 a.m. She dressed quickly, drove out, straight to the police station. "I know where she is," she said breathlessly. Abayomi stood. "Say that again." "Bisi's house. That red door. I don't care if I sound mad. I heard my child." Abayomi didn't laugh. Instead, he picked up his radio. "Unit 17, move to House 14, Emerald Estate. We may have a live case." By 4:15 a.m., 4 officers and Abayomi stood silently at Bisi's gate. They knocked. No response. Then they heard it. A faint cry. "Mom!" Abayomi drew his weapon. "Break it!" The gate fell open. The officers stormed in. They found Bisi in the sitting room, dressed in white, kneeling, eyes closed. "Where is the girl?" Abayomi barked. She smiled. "Too late." He pushed past her, straight to the red door. It was locked. He kicked it. Once, twice. Boom! The door crashed open. Fog rolled out like death. Inside, they found Lara, tied, pale, trembling, but alive. Abayomi shouted, "Get the blankets! Get her out!" Moreniki arrived just as they were wheeling Lara into the ambulance. She screamed her daughter's name. Lara's eyes fluttered open. "Mummy!" And then she passed out. The hospital room was too white, too quiet. Machines beeped. Drapes whispered in the wind. But Lara didn't move. She lay in bed, her skin ghost pale, her lips bruised. Moreniki sat beside her, holding her hand, whispering apologies that came out broken. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you." Temi and Dara came in briefly with Dio, who had flown in immediately after hearing the news. But they couldn't stay long. The doctor said Lara needed silence, warmth, and time. Outside the room, reporters camped by the gates. Police officers guarded every entrance. Inside the ward, Lara opened her eyes and whispered one word: cold. The next morning, the news broke. Woman runs secret freezer chamber in Lagos Estate. Child survives horror room. Emerald Estate was in shock. Children cried in their beds. Mothers held them tighter. Fathers canceled business trips. No one could believe it. Auntie Bisi, the woman who shared corn and offered Zobo drink, who led estate morning walks, who helped with emergency pickups. The very same woman had 12 photo frames of missing children hidden inside her freezer room. They kept her in solitary confinement. She hadn't said a word since her arrest. But on the third night, when a female officer brought her food, Bisi suddenly stood up. She looked straight at the officer and asked, "Do you know what it feels like to lose your only child in a freezer?" The officer blinked. Bisi began to cry. "I begged her to watch him. I just went to buy pepper. 15 minutes, that's all." 15. Her voice broke. She said she was punishing him for crying. So she put him inside. Inside. She fell to her knees. He froze to death. My only child, my miracle. Then her voice dropped, cold, empty. So I made a vow. If the world freezes my soul, I will freeze its children. The trial was swift. Mothers from 4 different states came forward. One recognized the bracelet from her missing son's photo. Another recognized a school uniform. Another remembered her child saying, "A nice auntie gave me sweet." 12 children, only 4 identified. The rest, unclaimed, unnamed, lost. The judge asked Bissy if she had anything to say. She simply whispered, "They shouldn't have trusted me." The courtroom fell silent. Then the sentence came, life imprisonment, without parole. The mothers wept. Even the lawyers cried. Reporters couldn't speak. Outside, people lit candles. A wall of photos was built in front of House 14. Parents came from other estates, other cities, to cry, to mourn, to honor the children. 1 month later, Lara returned home. She walked slowly, didn't speak for days. Then, one night, she knocked on her mother's door. Morenike opened. Lara handed her the old diary, now filled with drawings, maps, and names. "I wasn't trying to be rude," she said. "I was trying to save someone." Morenike broke down in tears, pulling her daughter into her chest. "I'm so sorry. I should have believed you." Lara nodded. Then she whispered, "Can we lock our door now?" Emerald Estate changed forever. Children were never left alone again. Every house now had surveillance. Every parent now listened. Every red door now raised questions. Lara became a quiet hero. And Morenike, she quit her job, started a foundation. The Lara Voice Foundation, teaching parents to listen. The red door was sealed. The house was sold. But no one moved in. Some say at night you can still hear whispers from behind it. But one thing was sure, no one ever left their children with the neighbor again. And that was the haunting story of Lara, the red door, and the neighbor no one suspected. Sometimes the biggest danger isn't the stranger on the street. It's the trusted face next door. Sometimes children do know more than we think. Sometimes they're not talking too much. They're trying to save themselves. In this story, a little girl fought with her voice, her pen, her courage, and her silence to stay alive. She tried to warn her mother. She tried to escape. She tried to be heard. And today, Lara lives. But many others didn't. So, what's the lesson here? Listen to your children. Ask questions when something doesn't feel right. Trust your instincts, not just a person's appearance. Because behind that smile could be a red door you'll never forget. If this story moved you, if it made your heart race, if it made you cry or think differently about who watches your kids, then don't just scroll away. Tell us in the comments, have you ever ignored a child's warning before? What do you think about neighbors watching children today? And most importantly, do you believe this could happen in real life? Let's talk about it below. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this story, we have many more powerful tales just like this. Watch our recent upload next. It could save a life.